Now, one of the biggest problems for web developers isn't actually building the web apps, it is deploying your applications to production so everybody can enjoy what you've built. And for many developers of my Blazor AI workshop lately, this was one big reason, if not the biggest reason, to actually join, because we did this there in detail. And in this video today, I also want to show you how you can deploy your Blazor web application to the clouds with Azure, because in my opinion, this is the easiest and the simplest way. We will have a look at this application here. It's a simple tic-tac-toe game. You can create a new room, and you see here it works with Signal R, of course, using WebSockets. So we can join and then we can play this game. And this is great locally, but I, of course, want to deploy this and enable this application in the cloud so everybody can actually play. And not only that, we also have a history feature, meaning we see all the moves of this game, for instance. So let's deploy this real quick. And by the way, you can also get the source code of this game if you want to. Check out the link in the video description below. And you can also still get access to the Blazor AI workshop, right? We recorded everything. It's a 3-hour workshop where we built a Blazor application from scratch, empty folder, using AI to build everything, but also using AI features inside that application, and deploy this to Azure. And the people who joined live also were able to make changes to the application there or add something there. So this was really, really great. Lots of fun. 3 hours from scratch, final Blazor web application. I think this is high value. The link is always in the video description below, and make sure to use the coupon code there as well for a sweet discount. All right, so I am in Azure. Here you see I've got a bunch of resources here already, but what we want to do is we create a new resource. Now, one big prerequisite is that you have your repository in GitHub. Doesn't really matter if it's a public repo or a private repo, but this way I want to show you using GitHub Actions with Azure. So that's why we need it. And the first step again is we create a new resource, and this might be a web application. Again, in this example, this is a Blazor server application using the Blazor web app template with the render modes since .NET 8. So this means doesn't really matter if you decide to use no render mode at all, using static server-side rendering or Blazor server, WebAssembly, the auto render mode. It's the Blazor web app, so here we also create a web app. Then we have to configure some stuff. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you can read it better, I hope. First thing, the subscription. I only have one subscription. If you're starting out with Azure right now, then I think you have a free option as well, so this should work for everyone. And then the resource group. Now I have a couple of resource groups here for my applications, but you can also create a new one. So let's just create a new one. Call this, in my example, tic-tac-toe group maybe, right? We hit OK. And then we give this thing a name. It's the tic-tac-toe game, for instance. And this is not available. Oh, is tic-tac-toe available? Nope. Let's call it Blazor game. This should work. All right. Interesting, because this anyways will be the URL, the unique URL for the application. But okay. Now publish. We choose a code, not a container. We use a code. And we also have to decide the runtime stack. In my case, this would be .NET 10. Operating system doesn't really matter that much. I tend to use Linux because it deploys faster then, and I think it's also cheaper, right? Then we can choose the region, which is, in this example, Canada Central. Again, this is just an example application, but you see you can choose everything. So just think about where you actually want to have the users that are accessing this page, or where's the majority of the users, right? And this might be then the right region for you. All right, so we got Canada Central. Then we have our Linux plan, and then comes the pricing plan. Now you see here I also have a free option. You can play around with that one, or the basic one, because the problem here is, you see it here, you have 60 CPU minutes per day included. After that, the application shuts down. And also what you have to do, or where you have to pay attention, is that after a certain while, when you have no or nobody accesses your application, then this whole thing goes to sleep. And then when somebody accesses your app again, it has to wake up, and this takes very long. So in my case, I would choose basic B1 because there I have the option to disable this sleeping thing, the sleep mode. All right, that's it actually. All right, we got this covered. Now next is the database. We want to create a database. Now in my application, again, you can get the source code to have a look at everything, link in the video description below. I choose SQL Azure because I am using a SQL Server Express database locally. And again, I think this is the simplest and easiest option. It's really not that much in cost. You can configure it to just cost $5 per month for the database, right? And then you have all the SQL Server or SQL Azure capabilities, and that's really a lot. So it is creating the Blazor, the server for the database server, and the database itself. That's it. And now deployment. This is important because what I want to use is continuous deployment. So we enable this, and I already have my account connected here, right? I can go to change account, and you see it here. You get this this little pop-up here where you have to log into GitHub then with your credentials, and then move that to Azure or connect this with Azure. I did this already, and this is why I see my organization here, simply me. And then I can have a look at all the repositories. First, the organization, of course. So lots and lots of repos I got here. And for me, this is Blazor Tic-Tac-Toe 2026. The main branch, this is the only branch I have here. Again, it's an example application, right? So chill out, please. And what you see then here is that a workflow configuration file will be created from Azure. Azure has now access to your repository, so it will create a YAML file there, a workflow file there. Here you can see it. And these are all the steps, right? So on push, this is important. When you push something to the main branch, then automatically this whole process runs. And this is amazing because then you see, okay, you first build this whole application with .NET 10, all that stuff, and then it is going to deploy it, all right? So we have these two steps essentially. And you see all the commands that you kind of can also run locally, right? It's a .NET build, it's a .NET publish. Creating an artifact, you can actually remove that. We don't really need this. So you could, if you want to, put everything into one step, deploy or build and deploy, or you can add something to that as well, like testing, for instance, right? So this is also great. And then deployment, you see it here, it runs on the latest of Ubuntu. Doesn't really matter in that case because it's just running there, right? You do not want to develop something in there. So it is running. And then again, the artifact stuff, and then it is logging into Azure and deploys it, right? This is the app name and the slot is production. Perfect. So this is everything we want. And then the rest is actually not important for us. We do not have to configure anything here. It's standard stuff actually, right? So nothing regarding networking, nothing regarding monitoring. Of course, you can dive deeper there if you want to, but I just want to show you the easiest, the simplest way to deploy your application. So we got this covered. We do not need application insights actually, so just disable this. Regarding networking, public access is great, but not that we have something by default activated here that we do not really need. Looks good to me. All right, monitor, nope. We don't need tags, and then we can just review and create this thing. So we see again what is the pricing plan, estimates it to $13 a month. Again, we can change this, and we have also a free option for playing around. And this looks good to me. So this might also be important, but we can check out the command, the account later for the username and the password for the database, because we also have to add a migration to the database, right? We have to initialize the database, but let's have a look at this in a minute. All right, deployment is in progress. You see it here. This takes a while now. During the workshop, we went ahead and implemented more features to the application. Again, you can watch the whole workshop with the link in the video description below. One thing I can already tell you is that Azure creates stuff that might be a little bit annoying. As you can see here, an endpoint, right? Or there was a link, something else. If you, for instance, forget to disable application insights, then you have all these resources there in your list, right? And if this is annoying, you have to either delete them one by one, because most of them you don't really need. Or if you're just playing around, I really recommend to create the specific resource group just for that application, right? Because then you can go ahead and just click that resource group and delete the whole resource group later if you don't need it. And then everything else is also deleted inside that resource group. This is really, really useful, I think. All right, deployment is complete. We can now go to the resource. We see the whole overview here. Now we can also see, and this is very important, the environment variables, right? So here now we have our app settings, nothing there for me, but we also have a connection string, right? And this is very important because this is for our database access, right? Now, this is by default called Azure SQL connection string. But when we have a look at our application, by default, it is, or it has a different name, right? So it might be default connection for you. Here, I call this thing the game history. And this has to be the exact same name in Azure, right? So connection strings, game history in my case. In your case, it might be default connection or something else. This is the typical SQL Server Express connection string that I have here, right? But in Azure, of course, it looks differently, but let's just change the name really quick, like that. And here you can also see the complete connection string itself. And here, this is what I was talking earlier, this is what I was talking about earlier. We have the user ID and the password here, and we need this in a minute because we want to run initial migrations, right? So let's apply this thing. We hit commit or confirm. And now let's go to the terminal and run the following .NET EF migrations scripts --idempotent. This is important because with that, we get a migration script that works every single time. You can run it multiple times, doesn't really matter, because there we have this little if clause. If this table already exists, then we won't create, or we won't try to create the table, for instance, again, right? So this is what we need. Now let's have a look. There's our SQL script. We can copy this whole thing. Now go to Azure, and we actually want the database now. So we go to our, where is it? There it is, our database. Then we have the query editor, and of course I first have to log in. So we use SQL authentication, and this is why I have to copy the name and the password first. So we go to our app service again, then environment variables, connection strings. We have a look at the value. So here now the user ID. And by the way, of course, you can use other tools for that. You can use the Azure Data Studio, SQL Server Express, or an extension for Visual Studio Code. But I think for this tutorial, this is the easiest way, really. IP address is not allowed, so we can allow it really quick. Connect. And here you see it. There's nothing. Oh, it is already. Okay. It is already deployed, it seems. But this is not always the case, right? If not, you can actually just go to new query, right? This is the default way. So it's good that I show you this because maybe it didn't do this. The app was configured to run the migration on the first when it is deployed, right? Or when you access it, because I already tried to access the page. So this might be the reason why it is already there. So on first start, it will run the migrations programmatically. So this works. But in another case, you might want to paste the script here now, but I can show you this anyways. So real quick to Visual Studio Code again, copy this, we paste this and hit run. You see everything's fine. The tables are still here. And now the big moment, let's access our game actually. And there it is. Isn't that nice? So this is in Edge. Let's add another Chrome instance. All right, there we are. So we create this room. We can join the room. There we are. And now we should be able to play. All right, it's slow. So yeah, we have to fix that. But I think you get the idea. This thing works. And we have the history that is also written to the database. But it's very slow. Well, for that, you can Now play around with Azure, configure it, have another resource plan, whatever it is, right? Maybe the app, because it was just deployed, is still a bit slow, could be the case. Play around with that. But if you want to share your applications with the whole world, this is, in my opinion, the way. Again, you can get the complete process, empty app to deploy to Azure in the Blazor AI workshop. Link, as always, in the video description below. And if you're just starting out with AI in your .NET and Blazor development, I think you really have to check out this video here, because this is the foundation of everything that makes development with AI really, really fun and really, really useful.